miss, to Jeff's point, is that we get in these spaces and we'll pit ourselves against each other. But then you have folks that are not familiar with our lingo and the way we act and what shade actually is to us. And they take that outside and they make it seem like we're all against each other. So the first thing is, what does mobilization and movement building look like within Ballroom? And I'll tell you a secret. When we went to get the sound permit for Friday, and we were telling them how many people were going to come, they told us not that many people were going to show up. They had absolutely no faith in us. I had one person actually say that all we do is vote, as if we're not engaged. So with someone with policies changing and an election right around the corner, how does Ballroom activate? What is Ballroom going to do to make sure that situations like this, whether it's local in your region or on the national end, doesn't happen again? That's the first thing. And as I'm thinking about it, it's like, all right, we want community, right? How do you engage community when certain members of said community don't feel safe or wanted? So how do you address that? When you have cis women and trans women and gender non-conforming folks that are coming into our space but don't feel like they have a place in our space. So I would like, as an organizer, to just sit here and listen to you as we create solutions within our own space. And then my last thing is, one of the other things I said is we need our allies, right? So whoever the ally is, whether they're non-ballroom or non-black or brown, whatever your situation is, how do we activate allies? What does being an ally mean to Ballroom and to this collective community? And what talking points or ask can we take back to our allies and tell them, if you support us, this is what we need from you? Because when we activated on Friday, we asked all our white allies to come out and toe the line. We knew the cops was going to be there. We knew they was going to be mad because we was there. We knew that they was mad because we was deep. So our white allies came and put their bodies in front of the police and everybody else. What does activation look like in Ballroom for our allies? And I said I wasn't going to say a lot, so Alex, who's my COO, is going to run this one because I ran the last one. Tabitha's going to help with some discussion, and then Jamie is also going to help with some discussion. And I'm going to drink my apple juice. Thank you all for coming out, I appreciate you.
On behalf of Destination Tomorrow, I want to thank everyone for coming out for part 2, because we started this last year on our conversations on violence in Ballroom. And today, I was supposed to moderate, but I'm kind of shy. So I asked Tabitha to kind of step in for me and moderate. And also, I'm part of Ballroom, but you probably don't know that because I never walked. So Tabitha's a little more familiar with, people in the line. So Tabitha Gonzalez will be our moderator today. So thank you, Tabitha. And Jamie will also co-moderate. So the floor is yours, Tabitha.
Well, it's not so much a moderation, it's an open discussion, right? As you just heard Sean say that we activated on Friday. It was a huge thing. And we activated with people who didn't even believe in us from the beginning. They didn't think we would have a turnout. They didn't think that this definite so much to us, and they didn't think that we would mobilize in that way. Getting the soundproof, and most of you who do know me know that I work for the associate, I'm an associate human rights specialist for the City Commission for Human Rights. So we're in certain conversations where we can get these things done. So as we're mobilizing to do that, it was hard, but because we believe they relented and gave it to us, right? And we also mobilize the people who mobilize differently than us. You have people who take to the streets and tear the streets up every week. You have people who are moving policies that keep us protected. Then you have people who are providing space and homes and education and voices for the movement, and they don't think that Ballroom matters. They think that someone literally said that we're just a bunch of performative dancers, and we're not in the forefront of change. Not knowing that I'm the same person that you come to when you need services, and I am Ballroom. And no matter what agency you go to in New York, there's definitely a Ballroom person there. And that happens in every community. But we acted up and we showed solidarity out there, but the violence also begins in here with us, how we treat one another, right? Ponder that for a minute. Jack said something about realness, how the girls read each other. I call it like antics, right? And then y'all will say, the category is boring, you gotta spice it up. And the girls are tearing each other down while the whole world is looking. And then we wonder why these conversations are happening about us because we can't talk to each other. And for me being an older girl coming out, battling the younger girls, when they're reading, that's what they're used to, because we taught them that's what they did back in the day, girl. They read. We're planting the seeds, right? But then we don't want that. Oh, y'all can't do that. But they see that we did it. And we still allow it at times, let's be honest. Right? Like Jack said, when we post all that stuff, they're watching us. The world is watching us. So how we treat each other, that's how they want to treat us. And then we get mad. So if they read me, it's okay, because that's just Tabitha. But if I read back, then, oh no, she's bullying, she's an elder, she shouldn't be talking like that, let the new kids live. One thing that I've learned is to listen to them. They do have a formula. It might not be ours, but it's okay to lend to it. And for the new kids, it's okay to listen to us and trust our guidance, because what we did out there was monumental. We took over the streets and we voted in the streets. But we voted as an act of resistance. Understanding for some of us that Ballroom started as an act of resistance because we couldn't get into spaces. So shifting the conversation back to how do we start to do that? Let's talk about it. Let's have an open conversation. How many of you were impacted by the death? How many of us rolled? Right? The world has become so desensitized to our violence and the death that we face. There's so many discriminatory cases that I get weekly, and I can't resolve them all. There's so many people that go into the doors of desperation tomorrow, and they can't get all the services met. But we as a community are connected in so many different ways, but yet we can't talk to each other. What we consider as shade, the world doesn't know how to put that in a pretty package. Like we said that, right? So now, what are we gonna do? What are some suggestions from the floor? What I want to hear from the youth. I want to hear from the babies. I want to hear from the elders. I want to hear from everyone in here. And also an extra push to what Sean said. For those of you who have social media platforms and you are using them, what are you using to mobilize and stand up for Ballroom and the policies that protect us? We could look at capes. We could look at you walking naked. We could look at you doing a dip all day. But what are you doing in that moment to push and say things that we matter? That we're not just a bunch of people who slam our backs and jump off tables. That there's doctors in here, there's media people in here. We have everything we need within our own. But how do we build that? Let's talk.
Hi, I'm Kaden. I've been in the ballroom scene for a long time, and the ballroom scene definitely builds character. So I have a very strong bone in certain things. I'm very confident in myself, but this is kind of fresh because I did walk last night and a situation did happen where a girl literally damn near hit me in my face. And I'm the type of person I'm building. I'm growing because normally my first instinct was to resolve it in a different manner. But I think just honestly condoning it is the biggest thing because everybody voted for her, and I'm not saying that I wanted a vote, but I feel like it should have been addressed. So that's how I do it. Condoning is a big part of it. Like I don't know what it's to say. I don't want them to say, "Oh, chop her because she put her hand or because she hit somebody or put her hand in her face," but something has to be done about that.
So I think the root of a lot of our problems is that we're not healing. We're not grieving. We're not taking time out mentally to process these deaths after death. It's like a death happens and we try to process it and then another one comes around the corner. I think for me, I personally think that we need to put mental health first. I think we need to make social groups where we can discuss our feelings, discuss how these deaths make us feel. If we're not accepted at home, if we're not accepted at work, we need to start, like Jack said, we need to start building with each other and collaborating. And I think that a lot of violence happens in Ballroom because we're not dealing with those traumas. We're not dealing with the grief. We're angry, everything is built up, we're not used to talking. A lot of people come from homes that they can't talk about their sexuality, they can't talk about things that they like, they can't talk about balls. I've had kids that some of their parents don't even know they walk balls. So I think where we have to start to is like looking inward, because once we look inward, then of course that portrays outward. So I think building different social groups where we focus on mental health, talk about grief, talk about violence, talk about the things that bother us, and I think that will kind of like overflow into walking. You know, so maybe like we don't know what she went through last week that she's holding in and she was violent towards you, but we don't know that because we're not talking about these things.
I think another thing is the control of the ball when it comes down to the commentator and the people that are running the ball. And I say that because I do a thing where I'm from where I say one on the left, one on the right. The reason I started doing that is because coming up in Ballroom, when you know certain people's attitude, you know who can battle like that. But then when you got girls that's coming from New York and then California, I really don't know you like that. And then they're getting up there and they start pushing and all this kind of stuff. So I started saying one on the right, one on the left, do not cross me. So when they don't cross me, it seems like it's a faster process. And when they vote, they go to the back because it's good order and discipline right there on the floor. Now, if I know two girls that are friends and stuff like that, normally I'll be like, okay, I know you two always do this and stuff like that, and I'll let them go battle. But Ballroom has spread it so much that you're gonna meet a girl that you don't know her, y'all don't know them, y'all just know y'all in Ballroom. And so when you pushing up on me, you don't know that I don't like people all in my personal space. You don't know that I'm not the person that argue at a panel. You see what I'm saying? And it really started with the thugs at first, but it gagged me when it went from the thugs to now, female figure is aggressive. And so that's why I always like pull them back.
I see the hands.
Oh, okay.
Felicity?
So, I have a few things I want to touch on. I like.
Can you speak up just a little
Oh, you
bit?
can hear me? Sorry. Can y'all hear me up there?
Yeah, got you now.
Sorry. So, I like the movement that the approach Jack especially has taken when it comes to a category. Like, he may see the madness, but he also leaves the stage with pouring into the individuals that have just put down their sister or their brother and let them know you don't have to do that in Ballroom. So when you speak about people that have a platform, as soon as that commentator touches that microphone, that's now your platform. So now you control the narrative of what leaves that stage. And I love how the commentators pour into individuals and let them know you don't have to hate your brother or your sister. Next time, let's do it a different way. Congratulations, but next time, let's do it a different way. And earlier, Sean spoke on how do we change the narrative in violence and how the community and society sees us. I would love to see a push for change within the local community. A lot of people in Ballroom don't know the importance of voting for their local elected leaders.
Oh.
And if you put a push, like literally every single Ballroom house, put a push together to bring the community and vote these people in and out. When they see your presence, they know to put fear in individuals that don't see our lives that matter. They'll know that we're gonna prosecute you to the utmost because their community is here and they voted for me. So I think oftentimes we kind of push that aside, not knowing that we have the power, we have the numbers. We may not know that, but we have the numbers. So if there was a push for as representation at the polls in their local communities, then I think we would change the direction of how people view us and they know not to tread on this territory.
So what I see is, I see that our community spends too much time hating on each other. And like you've heard us talk, people say that a lot of us come from broken homes. I'm one of them that come from broken homes. Sometimes people don't understand me. I know everybody in Ballroom, you know, I'm kind to everybody in Ballroom, but I also know the negatrons to stay away from. I see that if you can't tell me that I got a booger hanging out my nose, then you are not my friend. And what I see a lot of is Ballroom people, things that are going on with people. People are saying to you, oh, you look fat, and all this stuff, and you don't. I see on the judges panel a lot of times, like in our era, like if my house member was not turning it and this person turns it, I'm picking them. And I have done it while I have been in ballroom. And when you sit on that judge's panel and you know your house member is turning it, but that child turns it over and you give it to your house member, you set your house member up for failure or whatever the case may be. That means you're not my friend. I want a person to be honest with me at all times. And I see a lot of that going on in ballroom. We focus on the negative stuff. There's so much negative stuff. Words hurt too. People always, I see people talk about when you put your hands on somebody and stuff like that, but words can hurt and crush a person too. And we're too busy, all the stuff that the corporate world is doing, we can do ourselves. Because like they said, we have all this talent and stuff in here. Instead of us getting together and make that happen, we're still player hating on each other. And money definitely has a lot to do with it. Because in our era, when it was for trophy, it wasn't as fierce as it is now. It's about the money. The money done changed the game of ballroom, or whatever the case may be. I'm also the type of person that we going for our talent. I'm not going and getting this fab venue. I'm not looking at how fab that chandelier is over there. I'm looking at the talent on that floor. So we're going and we spending all this money on these venues and stuff like that. We know that a lot of people come from broken homes. They are struggling to try to get to a ball. You know, they're struggling to get an effect made, and we know that people have issues or whatever the case may be. We're not taking the time to look at these issues or observe to know that something is going on with a person. We don't want to hear that and stuff like that. And a lot of times that's what needed, and it's not just with the older, it's the younger, because I learned from the young kids too. You know what I mean? And we need to take the time to do that. We say these things and then we don't follow through. I see all of that going on in ballroom, and that's what makes me push back on people. It's hard to everybody, but I don't want to be a part of that stuff because I came from a broken home. I came from being homeless, eating out the garbage. I was a crackhead. I slept on park benches. I slept on subways. I fell asleep in the middle of the sidewalk. I have done all of that, so I use what I have went through to come and be a part of my community and be a better person because my community has accepted me, and which is what my family did not do. And we need to take the time to do that. We don't have to just focus on our house numbers and stuff like that. Like you go to a ball and I know that I like somebody in the house of Balenciaga, and I'm gonna chant for them because they turn it or whatever. We don't even do that no more. And we just need to get better with everything as a whole. And it's also the ones that are these leaders that's doing all this. I see on Facebook, y'all see I don't go on Facebook. Those who have me as a friend, I don't never write anything negative on my page because it's not about that or whatever. But I see all of that stuff going on. And I also see the people that are, I see people that speak all this good stuff, but then they don't follow through, and I be gagging. I really be gagging. And I say that that's setting everybody up for failure, not just the young kids, the older ones too. It's setting us all up for failure. And we just gotta get better with that. You know what I mean?
In the interest of time, right? We have two more, but I also want to encourage the youth to speak in these things. Because I think when we talk about tolerating and allowing certain things, we allow a lot of stuff in here that we know is dead ass wrong. Right? And when these babies are telling us we sweep it under the rug. Okay, you know, you gotta hold accountability, but then we don't wanna hold those perpetrators accountable in our own community. And that needs to be said.
I just want to touch on what accountability looks like what collectively what is accountability?
Right.
How you can move towards it.
Right. So collectively, working towards it collectively. But before I move in, and the reason why I say that, because whenever we come in these spaces, I know that the babies are not speaking. They're listening. And I want to encourage y'all to speak. I want to encourage y'all to speak. Talk your shit, right? Talk your shit, because everybody's listening. I got you, and then I have you after the let the babies go. Listen to it.
Yeah, do
Hey
you?
everybody, I'm Malik, father of Nuclear. Yeah, I'm not a baby, but I can speak from a youthful perspective. I've been in ballroom for like a decade now. I started young, and I feel like with this generation, they're under a lot of pressure. And I say that because ballroom is so mainstream now. Everything is live streamed. If they get embarrassed at a ball, it is instantly all over the world. It is instantly all down everybody's news feed. That drives a lot of anxiety walking these balls for them. So imagine for these younger kids, and I have kids in my house who want to come to the ball, but the ball $50. So now they can't come to the ball because they're like, I don't have the money. Or some of them that did pay the money and they go and they feel embarrassed. Something happened at the ball. Now it's all online. It's a lot more pressure for the next generation coming up because everything is all over the media. We're not underground anymore. Everything is instant. So I just feel like, as far as like balls, like just a suggestion, I feel like things that can help. I think balls need more staff when we're having these balls. Instead of just having the commentators and the ball promoter hosting thousands of people, you need to have a commentator, the ball promoter, people that's just there in the back, getting the people lined up, pairing up the battles, so that the commentator can stand there, commentate and count the votes, and don't have to worry about who's coming next, or who's still left, or who's going what. I think it's a lot of pressure for the people throwing balls today as well, because they don't have help. And if I can't find a person throwing the ball, who do I go to? It's just now I'm frustrated, now I'm pissed off. Now I got an attitude, and then those things build up. So if somebody say something to me wrong, now that's another thing. So I just think a way to help is get more staff, and just the pressure for the youth is up because we are live.
The youth, pressure, feeling, voting, all of that, right? Y'all hear that? The healing, the mental health. Parents, sometimes need to do better, and we could be honest with that. But sometimes the only time you talk to the kids in your house is if you're getting ready for a ball. And these kids need more than that. Trust me, I know. Right? But some of the elders do too. Some of us get so caught up in the glitz and the glamour, we're not telling how we really live. And if it come up, then when they look under the hood, we're embarrassed. The biggest mistake or the biggest thing that we hate to do is to look bad or to be made fun of. So we'll keep up the facade until we come on ourselves, right? So when we talk about accountability collectively, getting out to vote, healing, and all that, what does that really look like individually and collectively? That's what we're here for, to talk about that. Go ahead.
My name is Antar. I did walk balls from like 96 to 2005, then I went to Paris from 2005 to 2013, then I like kind of came back. And one of the things I was gonna agree with you, like when I was walking balls back in the 90s, there was no YouTube. And I could think like my younger self, what would I have done if I got chopped? I was chopped a few times. What would my younger self have done in that moment if it was live stream? You know, back in the day, you could lie about getting chopped. That's one of the issues. I won the ball. You can't do that. You can't do that now. Like, it is there. It is present. And so when you have an 18-year-old, like I hate categories about physical appearance because I always tell people, what happens when you don't have face anymore? Everybody gets old. What happens when you don't have body anymore? Like, and you put yourself into these categories where you're not able to expand. Because if you're young, you will get like that. And you will not have body like you have right now. And it happens to all of us. So I just think the threshold is so much higher, and as judges, when you're judging, first of all, it's a privilege to judge.
Say that again.
When you are judging, be cognizant of that is a young soul who is not groomed, who does not know a lot, and so when you chop, I'm not saying don't chop, but let's try to do it with some love.
I have two more before.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, like, when I came to Ballroom, I grew up in Bronx, in and out of Bronx, and I remember being in DC and Job Corps, and so we were going to go to this ball. And when I came to a ball, two things that hit me. Number one, there were people that looked like me that were selling. And then the other thing that hit me was a sense of something I had, which was family. I was constantly constantly in disarray, in and out of foster homes, hearing government structures say that my mother was unfit, hearing words like awarded to court. And when I came out the closet, it seemed like everywhere I went, I was too skinny to be with the muscle boys. I was a man. I couldn't be with the girls, you know, like they like you could never get up here. You know, so I always felt this displacement. And then when I came to Ballroom, it happened again because everybody was pretty much like, well, bitch, you need to live for this. And I was trying to figure out how to become an adult, a productive member of society. So like in the house of the business, they always ask me, they're like, well, bitch, why ain't you an icon? You're 1,000 years old. Why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? And then what I tell them is, look, life showed up. I had to figure out how to be productive. I said, I've always loved ballrooms, whether I was a spectator, whether I was a person on the floor, but what you gotta do, just like I had to do, was figure out how to actually become productive. And then I said, the most important thing that I get from ballroom is being of service. You know, in the pandemic, what happened to me was, I found myself placed in a lot of uncertainty. You know, I didn't know if I was going back to work, and I went into this depression. In the House of Liberation, what we ended up doing is this small campaign called the Stop Killing Us campaign. And honestly speaking, that changed it for me, my outlook with ballroom. And I have to say, we have the tools. There are writers in here. We don't have to go to them. They're not going to give us the equality in pay. They're not going to treat us with the same industry standards. They're going to treat us like we're in a crab bowl, and it's about picking what you want. We have the potential to create our own narrative. We have the potential to trademark, take our jingles, and do all these things and take control of what is ours. And I was inspired by what I saw. And it's funny because when you go on the social media and you compliment someone, when you see them in person, that's not who you meet. You meet someone that actually looks at you like, and I always tell people in the house, be careful when you hear them. They'll make you gag. But on a lighter note and on a more uplifting note, I think what we have to always bring it back to as people in ballroom is service. What are you doing when nobody's looking? Especially with the babies. That's all.
Everyone just pause for 1 second, right? I got you for a second, right? Something that I didn't do, and I know I should have done. I know a lot of us have lost someone, right? And that's heavy on a lot of our minds at this point. While we're having this conversation, we just came from a ballroom that was exhausted. But give yourself some, be gentle with yourself. You showed up. The food is good, right?
Yeah.
Stomach is good. Can you get a clap for it? But I need to hear more voices. I need to hear people chiming in. Let's make use of this time. Because tomorrow is not promised. And we know that truth. Hosea. And then he honors.
So I just want to say something that's really quick. Hi everyone, my name is Jose. I've been in Ballroom since like 2007. What I've noticed in the ballroom scene through these years, and especially now, is the lack of encouragement. Encouragement is the key word I want to use for this, because when it comes to specific balls or balls in general, these kids use their last dime to get their effects together, to get their looks, to put their whole theme just to come to this ball and not pay their rent or not have no money for food. And literally, they come to the ball and the panel, which is the authority figures, most of the times, not all the time, but I've noticed, they pay them dust, or they have this expected effect and they just don't even look their way, like they don't even see them. And that's disencouraging to the talent that's performing, because it shows the talent like, oh, you don't care about me, and I'm spending all this money on this look and this effect, and you're not even looking my way because you're bored or you're bothered. Why am I even coming to this shit, to be honest? And that makes people turn away from ballroom. So, also on top of panels, I understand judges are tired. It's been a long day. The ball may be stressful, whatever. But if you don't want to get up there and actually do your job as a judge and judge, don't get up there. Because it looks bad on the camera. And that's all I got to say.
Kiana. Kiana. Hey, lady, come on, baby.
Hi, everybody. You know, y'all know me. Y'all know I've been, all that other stuff was irrelevant, you know me. I just feel like, Jack, thank you for having this, discussion amongst the voices. It's really overdue, but I don't wanna be about the voices anymore, just talk about it, let's be about it. So we can talk a good thing, we gonna do this, we gonna do that, and nothing happens. And I think the only way for Ballroom to get what we need to get to get what we need to do, and is the lack of respect for each other. It has to be that. If we don't have respect for one another, it's not going anywhere. And I feel like we are so divided today as a community against community, people against people, the girls against the girls, the young against the old. Like me, I try to be a little different entity of who I am, and I try to reach out to the younger generation or see it in walls, because I started off as a young individual, and why not me being an elder, as they say, to give back to the youth. And it's a wonderful thing. We just gotta work together, and if we're gonna make it work, we gotta work together and just be about it. We can have all these meetings in the world, 100 meetings in the world. If we ain't living up to what we need to do, they won't know. So that's what I think.
But that's the thing, it's like to piggyback off of you, it's like we've been going through these meetings year after year. And I've sat on so many panels and so many meetings, but it's action. And there's so many Indians and not enough chiefs. It's like, when does one person say, okay, this is the policy, let's implement it, and we all agree? It's like, we can sit here today and come up with some new ideas, policies, or whatever, but then it's like someone will go off the rail and be like, well, I ain't agree with that. It just trickles. It's like, when are we all gonna just really sit down and say, like, this is what it is, stand up and put up a fight of like, nah, we're not taking anything else but this. So I didn't mean to talk directly to you, but.
Because we have been on, we had the groups.
Yeah.
We all wanted to be in the leaders and the Congo. It got so bad where they were fighting against each other. It's all about power.
Yeah.
Who wants to be empowered and all this stuff like that? And it's really, we're not going to get anywhere. It's going to be the same old story. The same, no, this is. That's my piece. So.
I want to go to the back, let's start again first. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, no, we got to do it.
I kind of want to piggyback off of what Kiana said. I do look around, see a few faces in here that are a part of the New York and New Jersey Ballroom Alliance. We do speak a lot about things and how we can help Ballroom, but we're trying to do the work here in New York first. But I think even with things like the New York and New Jersey Ballroom Alliance, we need everybody to be a part of it or it doesn't work. Even with us having majority of the houses having a representation, when one house doesn't show up, we lose a whole magnitude of numbers that could have been a part of whatever movement that is. And we are trying to do a lot of different things. So I'm taking notes now because we have another meeting on Tuesday. We meet every month. Everyone's house should have a representative. If you don't, please make sure your house does have a representative, because that is how we stop talking about it and start doing things about it by being a part of. So
I ask a question? So going back to the alliances, do local alliances and those regional alliances also have meetings?
that's the thing, and I think that's the level where we're trying to get to, is where we can have our New Jersey Alliance get aligned with the Atlanta Alliance, the West Coast Alliance, so that way we have one national. But I think the thing was, it's been said several times that the Alliance, we'll get the ball rolling and it kind of falls to the wayside. I feel like with this one we have now, it's been going consistent and good. We just want to make sure that we're solid before we branch out.
So alliance rules are different depending on which region it is.
And that's the thing also. So yeah, we only really delegate over New York and New Jersey. We can't tell Atlanta what to do or them what to do. But we can come up with ideas of what we think should be overall for Ballroom, which I think would be a good idea.
Just last question. Is there apprehension about, amongst the alliances, about doing a national alliance? Has that been discussed, or is that,
Yeah.
and what's been the holdup on that?
People just not following through.
The cities in line.
I think so. Every other city is trying to get them aligned. Like, I remember when the alliance first created in New York, New Jersey, we were talking about like working with Florida and other alliances and working on like coming up with rules of ballroom. Like if New York says we're only going to do 11 judges on a panel, that would trick you according to every city. That every city does 11 judges on a panel or 9 judges, and we will all agree as a consensus that's what it would be. So that way it wouldn't be 13 judges on the West Coast, on LA, and then when we get to Chicago it's 15, and New York has 9. It would be something where Ballroom has certain rules where we can all follow, as far as judges and how the balls are conducted.
So we want to keep a little decency and order, and I know that we all want to speak out, right? But please just let the other person speak. I do try to have an order. I might skip you, because everybody wants to have a seat and talk. No, are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, so then we're gonna come over here to the line.
No, for me, I'm here. For me, I feel like, what's up, everybody? Y'all, Icon Divine, I've been doing this 20-some years. So, my thing is, for me, it starts in your house meeting. Who starts before the alliance meetings? For me. I come from a generation of from old school. I was brought into Ballroom a particular way. Yes, things have changed over the years. I feel like the newer generation wants to come in. They see the seats that we take. They feel that there's power in those seats, and they don't realize that there's no power in that because power comes from money and things that you gain. If you're not gaining anything, there's no power in it. You're just talking. If there's nothing to win or nothing to lose, there's no power. So, back to what I was saying, if they look at us in these positions, with these icons, with this icon, this word icon does not come with a check. It doesn't come with anything, but another statute of responsibility, because now you have to hold yourself to this particular level that everybody sees you at, that they think is powerful, but it's really just more responsibility. So, at the end of the day, we look at these kids, they look at that, they want to, they look at that power, they're so quick to want to push you out of the way to jump into that seat, when the whole time they think that we're trying to mash them down and things like that, when we're actually trying to expose you to everything. I don't mind giving up my seat, and I would love to give up my seat and sit back and watch Ballroom flourish and go to the next level. But can I honestly feel that that would happen if I step back and say, don't take the reins? If I'm not comfortable with that, I'm not getting out the seat because I put too many years into this for this to just crumble because I decided I'm tired. Woo!
That's a struggle.
Yes, that's the struggle. So my thing is, like I said, starts in the house meeting, in the way that we bring and usher our kids into Ballroom, and the way that we make them understand what Ballroom is and what it means to us, and the value of it, monetarily as well. Because as you know, we make money, and not just amongst ourselves. And I'm talking about on these commercials, our images, the things that we do, our lingo, all those things hold something. And we so quick to, let those go, but we want to hold everybody else to this particular iconism, or you're a legend, you shouldn't do that, and you shouldn't do this. Okay, but like I said, it goes back to putting that pride and that understanding in those kids from the get-go. It's just like in a home, when you raise in a home, if you're taught these things, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to go out and do the right thing, but you understand what you're doing to the world that you are involved in. So my thing is we have to make sure that our kids understand that the moves that they make and the things that they say and the things that they do in these places and on these stages have effects on our turnout at the end of the day. Just like with my children, when they do some things that I don't particularly care about, no, I don't chastise them on social media in front of everybody, but I damn sure give them a call. I'm like, that was not cool. That was not cool. You need to do better. You need to know better. This is not how we do that. You know what I mean? And I push hard. And everybody feel like, oh, you're a stern cookie, you're mean, you're this or that. No, I have values. And I uphold and I stick to what I strongly and honestly believe in. For me and for mine. And I stand behind that. And I feel like if we all were able to take that same formula and enforce that within our houses, what they produce when they go on from our houses into the community, because we gotta realize these people that we raise don't always stay in our houses. They go to other houses and do other things. And they go and start their own thing. But if those values, those core values that we install in them, if we install those core values within them, when they go, they take that with them. And if they did the same thing and they passed that along, then things would be definitely different. I feel. And I can tell the difference because I know how I am with my house kids, and then I see how other people are with their house kids. And I see the turnout with mine, and then I see the turnout with theirs. So that's what I have to say.
All right, I'm sorry. Thank you. That is the next week.
So we on the scene for 25 years, I think that we have different soul cultures within ballroom. You have the competitors who compete. Then you have the judges who don't compete. Then you have the fans of ballroom who criticize. And I think that the people who compete, we need to all give them a round of applause. And the people who judge, who are the judges clique, some can kiss my AWS. And some I salute you, but for the ones who bring the bad ending to the competitors, shame on you, because if you have any idea how much it costs, the time, the money, the energy, and the freedom that we put ourselves to produce something of substance, then you would appreciate ballroom more than just sitting in a judge's crew, laughing and putting people down. That's just how I feel.
I know some people was like, woo, right? But that has to happen, right? Because we came here to talk seriously. So we could talk performative and be nice in our language, but when shit like that come out, that's the truth. And we feel it, but we don't really say that shit. I see y'all, I know David waiting.
I'm KC Garson. I've been in ballroom since like 2011. And I think I'm like right in the middle of the younger generation, the older generation, so I'm kind of speaking for both. Now since the older generation doesn't really like to admit that most of the stuff that they see the younger generation do is for the stars. Like they watch y'all drag together on Facebook every week, icons for 40, 50 years old, and they see that and it's rewarded. They see everybody in the comments like group read, so they mimic that, and that's why they feel like that's okay because y'all make them feel like that's okay. They literally just what y'all behavior really just trickles down to them, and they're really just doing what they see.
Any real volume competitor, they're not that opinionated on social media. Their work speaks for itself. I think this is second tier people that don't win or don't compete. That's the ones that have the lip box.
Can we just get bring back, bring it back? If I do this, that means bring it back, please. And we always want to be mindful of the times that we have you, and then we're going over here to y'all over here. Sorry, I'm not good.
I'm Marcus.
Hi, Marcus.
I'm one of the co-creators of the Southeast Ballroom Alliance, and I'll say this. A national alliance to me is not necessarily necessary. We need to organize the regional groups together because there are no quote-unquote rules. Ball should have got alliances spend a lot of time telling people what they do, and guess what? It's been this way for 50 years. You can put who you want to put on your panel. The panel could be 9, 12, 30. You can charge $5,000 for a table or $50 for your table. We shouldn't be trying to dictate that. We should be trying to organize the community and help them realize this one common goal. In the Southeast Alliance, our one goal is to grow and expand ballroom in the South. How do we do that?
We recognize Florida the same way we recognize Alabama, Tennessee, Atlanta, Carolinas, and beyond. No rule we say is a rule, it's a guideline. So instead of saying, oh, you can only charge this for a table, because that's unrealistic, or this for admission, we're saying, hey, you don't have to have this category for the year, or you can't count team categories. Have 35 trophies, but these are our minimum guidelines, and your ball can count for the team. That's one basis. We've addressed violence in the South. We're probably one of the few alliances that are taking a hard stand on addressing violence. And our ban list actually means something. No disrespect to the icons, but no revolution ever in the world has ever been led by old people. It has always been led by youth. So we need to realize. I think that's going over their head. No shade. Icons can't tell people what to do because they've been doing it wrong for 25, 30 years. So I have to start with the younger people. Martin Luther King was young. When he died, he was 39 years old. He was young.
It's okay.
So we can't, we look to the icons for guidance and respect, but they're not going to be able to tell us what to do. They should help guide the conversation, but if we do not start with the young people and the youth and bringing them in, the scene is going to die.
So, I know this can wait. I know you're ready to start and defend. Don't do that.
Please, well, can we please have this honest conversation? Because
No, but wait, I'm not saying that, right? I'm not saying, I want to give the people the weight in, and then I'm going to step back and let y'all go ahead and talk, right? Because at the end of the day, like, we want to be respectful, we do want to talk about some real shit, but we also want to be respectful, and it starts in this room, right? So let's be mindful when we're saying things like the old and the new, because that's repetitive language.
It's not fault. I do apologize. I really do apologize, Tabitha, but we've had these conversations for 15 years now. We haven't gotten anywhere. This conversation, if we're going to be about change, let's start. Everybody put their feelings to the side.
I get you. I'm not taking nothing away from you. I'm not saying.
Well, you can't. You can't take anything away from it. What we're doing is we're starting a conversation today, and we're going to lead change today. The Southeast Alliance has been an example for places. The West Coast is doing what they're doing. The Midwest is doing what they're doing. The Gulf Coast is doing what they're doing. The Northeast can do what they're doing. And if we want to talk about collaborating and doing it, but it's never going to be one set guideline. That's unrealistic, that's impossible, and that's all I'm saying. Why?
But wait, please. You have to and you're right? Wait. Because my real response would have been like, I can take anything I want, but I'm not gonna do that, right? Because I'm not gonna respond that way, and I'm telling y'all, we need to be respectful and respectful. No, because when I'm asking you to just pause, like you're still doing it, I'm trying to get to other people.
Well, I was very short and brief.
Courtney. Can y'all let her speak, please?
I wanted to go back to, like, you keep talking about you, and some parts is right. I said this a long time ago, and I said this to my neighbors in my house, if the youth don't come to the scene is gonna die. Like, it's gonna die. And we literally, you watch how the Kiki thing flourish so much because the kids stick into their own consideration. We don't have to key with y'all. We can literally key over here, and then you're gonna watch the clips, go viral, and then you're gonna say, hey, I want that person in my house because they making their own space for them. And we have to make the space comfortable for everybody. Like, I've noticed a lot, it's always the older ones and the young ones, and that's what they make it seem. All we have to do is be respectful. Because every time, every kid from any house, when they see me, I'm respectful to them, so they want to make me say, hi, for the how's everything, and it's just those little. It's like, I've been in ballroom music for a long time, off and on when I was younger, but when I first came in, everything was, they always say, oh, they're going to cut your face, you always say that, you always say the things like, oh, you're going to get beat up by the Ebonies, you always say
Or band from the South, right?
Our whole family wants everything to your cheeks. It's just the things you hear, like, and don't get me wrong, it's like that. It is like that, but it's also positive things too. It's also a lot of positive things. Like the scene has raised crazy. I've been raised by the Revlon stuff as a little kid. Like, seeing James Icon, not even know who that is. I'm 8 years old. Voguing at my game at the Tammy House. You know what I'm saying, like that. And it's like, and DeAndre Revlon and Mark Revlon and all of these people, I didn't even know what they were doing, just teaching me. Like, I'm just over there voguing as an 8-year-old kid, not knowing that my game at the scene wouldn't even be in the scene no more, but I will find my way. You know, and it's not as bad as it's portrayed, like, you know, because there's a lot of good things. I also just feel like it's just the respect of both parties. You know, because if I'm coming in, I'm from Brooklyn, and if I came in this way, like, I remember really coming in, trying to get in, and there was so much gatekeeping, it was so mean that I had to fight back. And then I became known as the kid that's always fighting the adults. But the adults were attacking me. Woo, they were attacking me. You look late, you're not. And I'm like, I'm 14. Come on. You don't have no money, you don't have kids. I'm 14 years old, I'm not stealing, I'm not a prostitute, my mother got 9 kids. How am I supposed to be anything else but a child? They put this on you like, oh, you're late. I remember the first time here when I was late. I'm like, I was the first one in the village. How am I late? I came out of school, came in, y'all was late. You know, I was telling one of my girls in my house was literally attacked, like telling her like, oh, you're not beautiful, you're like this because you don't have the teeth and you have a bad. And I really saw like, you know, you're only 18, you're only 2 years old. Like, we didn't have those things, like, that's a process. But then you make people like they need these things to compete, want to be a part. And then you wonder why a lot of girls have messed up silicone jobs and everything, because you're telling them they need this stuff to be a part, and they don't. Like, they compete, you should be able to be 17-year-old and compete. You don't have to be like, oh, girl, you lame, girl, you just ain't done. Bitch don't even have a dental plan, but she needs veneers. Like, you know, these are the problems that I'm noticing, I'm witnessing. Like, have I seen a girl saying that, I don't want to look like, you know, I don't want my teeth done up. Like, you don't need it. I don't got no titties. She told me I'm flat chested. It's okay, you're 18. You're 17 years old. You have to go through life and figure that out. Like, and watching a lot of girls that not even here no more, like, from coming up, the whole house of Icon, all them things are not even here. Those girls I look up to, but they was moving so fast. And you don't even know how people are trying to literally survive, and they have to take all this criticism. And then you notice some people don't take it, and then I'm 16 years old, and I'm literally fighting in the village every week because someone is calling me names. And it's like, what's the matter? They're like, there's something bad. Oh yeah, I got to see her. This is literally what's going on, and it still happens. It's still happening, and we have to be mindful that we have to protect them more. We have to be protected. We have to get the safe space. We have to be open to. Everyone's not going to look the same. Everyone's not going to have the same things. Some people have different. We all came up differently. But that's what I'm seeing more so. Like, you know, they're turning up the face, or you don't need to. She should never won that, or she should never do that. And it's like, let's get more grace. Let's be more kind. Because losing up these kids, they're not going to show up, and then some of them going to fight back. And when they start hitting you once, when they knock you one time, you don't want another one of those. So you got to stand to the side, like, you know what? So, just be kind.
Because it takes a village to raise a kid. You know? That's just that saying. The village takes, you know, we all got to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like what Jack said earlier, we all got to collaborate, we all got to come together. Yeah, we're in separate entities, separate houses, but at the same time, we're still all one big community. You know, we got to protect each other.
So we have Doug here and the Cash. I'm sorry, I know you've been waiting, Cash. Just give me one.
What's up, everybody? In Ballroom, a lot of times we like to use the word accountability and change. We gotta hold a lot of people taking accountability and us holding people accountable. But it's kind of hard to do that when everybody's scared to want a thing that can say, or this ball, or this judge, or this or that. Everybody's scared to say something. And it's like, how can you hold somebody accountable, or how can somebody else take accountability if nobody's telling them nothing? Everybody just speak in riddles and like, you know, indirectly on like, oh, this just say who it is. If Tabitha Tabitha is drunk on the panel and she just on live the whole time, and every time somebody say, okay, Tabitha, and she ain't paying attention, say it. Say that's who it is. Don't just say the judges and then put emojis with faces like that. Like, that goes so crazy to me. And it's like, why keep on doing it? And then I feel like people don't want to say names because if they say names, then it's a problem.
They're gonna be trying it the next ball.
Right. What they're gonna do is, oh, you calling me out on social media, and then the next ball, they're gonna chop your kids, or they're gonna try your kids. So it's like everybody's scared to do something. And somebody said we've been having this conversation for like 15 years, and that is so true. And we're never, ever, nothing ever going to change if nobody know they're doing nothing, because nobody's telling people that you are the person that's doing it. But then when you have somebody like Lauren or me, or even Tinte, who don't mind going on social media or don't mind in your face saying you are the problem, you are the issue, we looked at as problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what the hell is going on? So do you want us to tell you, get it together, or do you want us to just sit back and just not say nothing?
And you and the cash.
Yeah, I think, to back off of that, like, you know, a lot of times you guys know who the person is that's battling or whatever it is. And a lot of times, like I said, y'all are condoning these actions by voting for this person. If the person doesn't know that it's not, I mean, what are the consequences to these actions? Do y'all have, what are the consequences of this problem? Banning them from the ball, but I mean, that's not, I don't know.
Cash.
Lord.
So as a person who lives back north and south and sitting on the southeast border, I actually opposed to, I don't understand why there isn't a united Ballroom alliance.
We tried.
I personally, that's what I said I'm going to go opposed. I personally think that it's needed. As I moved to the south, I realized how much rules and regulation that the southeast has, and it kind of created a whole new energy for the south. I know that we talked about having the Northeast Alliance, but I just don't really understand why there isn't a future alliance with, you know, figurehead from different cities and representations to have a certain places so that we can actually be on one bigger port, and then obviously we have different things for each and every state and every city, because obviously everybody's laws are not going to compensate everybody with rules and regulations. But I really and another thing that I wanted to talk about is I truly feel that for to have more than 9 judges, or 11 judges, there should really be a two-chop rule. One of our biggest issues is this one person chopping someone, and a lot of times we know that it's shade. We know that people come in with certain energy, not liking people, but giving one person one power is actually, you know, the biggest problem. And when you have 9, 11, 13 judges, having one person tell that person that they don't qualify, but everybody else sitting there, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like if we don't speak about this, we're going to continue going through most of these situations that we're going, and then these judges get right back on the panel, do the same shit all over again, but it wouldn't be the same way if we at least had a two-chop rule for most of these cases.
Healing, voting, family starts in the house, right? Right? Movement first started with the youth. You said Martin Luther King was we had a lot of stuff that was said in here, right? So I want to kind of shift it into conversations where you had someone say they have the strongest alliance and they are implementing that, right? So then what can we take from that to move it in our spaces and we all come on one accord, right? So it looks difficult, but we thought the march would be difficult too. And our numbers showed up immensely in the streets. So I heard Felicity say before she left, we do have the numbers right in this room. This can be the whole catalyst to changing things in Ballroom. We have been talking for 15 years. I was going 14, baby. I'm sorry, I wasn't here. Okay? But, so, I mean, that's just being real. So for those of you who do have the experience, I look to hear from you. And if you have something that works, then tell us how that works. So like that, we can try to implement it. Because everybody's gonna have different feelings, and everything is not gonna work in every space. And let's just be real. And when we talk about money and the monetary gain, it's a fucking ball every other week. Back in the day, bitch, you could brag for a little while if you wanted to fly. You get your grandpa snatched at the next ball. You know, and then the whole counting system, people forgetting all the balls that you want because there's so many balls, so it's not accurate counting, right? And then to go back to what Courtney was saying, when these babies come, some of these babies working at Target or got a ticket from Destination Tomorrow to get into the ball. And they're just trying to put their pieces together, and we treat them like shit. So that discourages them from coming. It starts in the home. What are we doing to build the kids up so they're able to acclimate jobs, save, know what it takes to be in the ballroom, effectively be ready to hit the floor and feel confident and accept the loss. It doesn't mean you go to the panel and flip the panel. Back in the day, it gave, I'll see you at the next ball, sis, and that was that.
So that,
right?
so
Courtney,
Wait, hold on.
Well, I can't do it by myself.
No, I just wanted to say, when it comes to balls, like obviously for myself, when I first went to Ballroom, it wasn't so much as me being. It's much more so me trying to learn, figure out who I was as a person coming to Ballroom. Most people come into Ballroom thinking the community owes them something. And we need to look deeper within ourselves and figure out what's the problems with us and why we're coming into Ballroom. Like when I came into Ballroom, I came in college. I didn't really have family that supported me in college. So I came out in college my freshman year. And that's when I found Ballroom and stuff. But still not realizing certain past traumas in my personal life hindered me from being able to adapt and change and grow with Ballroom, how Ballroom was moving. It wasn't until I reached like maybe not mid-30s or mid-20s that I gained the mindset that, hey, I don't have to be on Facebook arguing with everybody every week about stupidness when I can just, show up, show out, and then go about my life, and they'll see me at the next function. So I think we need to look within ourselves personally and see if we have anger issues that we need to get fixed. We need to see what traumas in our life that hurt us and that's hindered us in our life that we bring into Ballroom that causes. Because a lot of people that sit on these panels are not able to adapt to change or become good or see that every generation that comes into Ballroom is a different generation and can change. So if you're an icon or a legend or whatever, and you're somebody that sits on these panels for 10 years plus, if you're not able to change the mindset from 1969 when Paris Dupree was walking to now when KD and KD Garçon is walking, you don't need to be on that panel no more. Stop sitting up there. Because you're stuck in your ways and you're not ready to change.
That's a message to the promoters, not to the judges. Promoters have to stop putting the same folks on and have that mindset.
So then Jamie, and then
So I keep hearing a lot of repetitive stuff, and there's a lot of icons and legends and statements, but we do have a pioneer in the building, and I hate to put you on the spot.
Oh my God.
But no. But I mean, like, we're having a conversation, and like you've seen the ballroom evolve, like you've been here before us, and these are like again, it comes down to respect.
Let me just say this. I really was hoping I wouldn't because everybody knows I'm very outspoken about certain things. And I didn't think that this was the time for that, but I'm going to say this, okay? I've heard some things was a little bit like, to me, one of the things I heard was about the youth. And I'm just going to say this. If you had a company like IBM, would you have youth running it? It always starts with the old. We hear people say, mother, father, what are you showing these kids? Are you showing them respect? Because that's where it all starts. It all starts with that. Y'all just see I had a crazy incident. And I actually got nominated for shadiest I cringed. You think I spend thousands of dollars to be known as the shadiest? Wait a minute. I was gasping. I was like, I had one incident, and that's all they see. They're not looking at the time and the effort. It's the respect factor. Let me just say this real quick too. Talk and I say about pioneers and stuff. You people gotta understand, some of the things that y'all doing today is because of us. You just seen somebody get killed in a gas station. Well, we've been going through that. Y'all able to say, I identify today by what we did. And y'all come and y'all throw shade? Because it's the parents. I don't care what nobody says. Should no old person be with no young person? If I had a niece, 18, or no 50-year-old, friends. So we do all these things, but the real important thing, listen, I'm not real into all sport. This is probably the first brunch I've ever been to. Does that mean I'm not a leader? I have 30 years in recovery. I've never even had a drink. Nothing. I stopped cigarettes. I've been arrested 11 times. I was a crackhead looking for cigarette butts in the rain. I'm not a leader? Why? Because I'm not doing all gay things. I'm not in all these communities. I am a leader in the real world. Because that's what it is. We fantasize about all this. I'm so fab, I'm so this, no, what are you really doing outside of this? If the next pandemic, will you be fab? When everything is closed down, are you fab? When you walk out of here, are you fab? When you go a house, are you fab? Is your rent paid? Do you have an education? You want young to lead, young better get an education first. How many know how to read? Does anybody know anything about credit? Does anybody know anything about a 401k? No, it's not an apartment in Trump Tower. This is what we need to be showing. So, and let me just say this too. Sometimes as a leader, I don't know who was at the ball last night. Yes, I get upset because I see all these alliances. Some things I don't understand. I don't understand how somebody gets their face sliced, and the person walks out the ballroom. It's just mind-boggling to me. I don't understand how we have all these witnesses and nobody gets arrested. I don't understand how I can say, this ball is coming. Who's judging? Oh, I can tell you. Just look who judged last year. I mean, what the hell is we doing? And let me tell y'all something too. You can have everybody that I've had something with, I talk to them. You know what? Even last night, y'all saw. Y'all know my mouth is fierce. And I'm a cancer. I can hold a grudge till Jesus comes back. But I was gagging and I said, you know what? If you want to lead and you want to change, you have to know how to forgive. So yes, I apologize for my part in what I do. And that's what we have to do. Sometimes we have to be the bigger person. Nobody wants to be the bigger person. Everybody wants to be the shadiest person. What do you get out of that? What do you... I can go on and on and on. I don't want to take time. I've been doing live this week, tune in there. But these are things that and let me just say this, people. Carmen, everybody know, just passed. People like myself, I've been competing, not going, competing, 44 years. We should be respecting those people. Like I said, all sorts of respect. You ain't got to be my fan, but be like, damn, that's somebody because let me just tell you something. My category does not have an expiration date. Fashion ain't got no expiration date. I could be fab till I'm 80. So I don't have to stop walking. But we need to, when we see these people, we need to uplift them. Like, oh, wow, you've been here. Thank you for paving the way for us. And that comes from the leaders of the houses to do that. Are you pulling your kids to the side and being, what are you doing? You don't do that to them. And I don't see that happening. And I think that's where it all starts. We have to guide these youth. We're not guiding them. We're just telling, oh, do this, do that. Oh, you know that child looks fierce? It's over. It's not over. No, you're not walking. You're not going to represent like that. And we need to see more of that, okay?
Thank you, John.
And I know that some of us came late and some of us were here, but in the end of time, like this conversation can consume half of the day, right? Because we all have opinions. I want to get the last few people to speak. I'm going to ask that you keep it brief because I want to get a geographical number of what houses are here. And we've already talked about the problem. We've been talking about it for a minute now. I want to shift the conversation into solutions and then we can move from there, all right? And I see a lot of hands, but I definitely want to get to the people that was here first. And there's one person who's been waiting for over 40 minutes. And I just want to give you the moment.
Hi everybody, my name is Romeo. Now I'm Gordon's Gucci. I've been listening to the discussion. It's one of my football brunches in years. So basically a little bit backstory about why I am and how I play my part. I'm a prominent person and creative director and curator and nightlife producer for the scene. I'm one of those people who were able to interject, go into the ballroom scene and also advance on the outside of the ballroom scene and pull people from the ballroom community into the nightlife and curate a space where we all could operate in a collective manner, which gives the new generation an outlet and the old generation a bridge, and I think that's what we're all talking about today. I wanted to piggyback on that. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I think I want to know definitions of what is a Ballroom Alliance and what's the benefits of having it. And I also wanted to say that I don't totally agree with the statement about icons. I think that it's very, very important that we have the foundation of Ballroom and keeping that a foundation. There are standards as to why, you know, a short story. I remember like just Butch Queen Face. I remember coming up, I left Ballroom for about 6 years and then I currently have been back for a couple years now. But I remember seeing and hearing things that could relate to Courtney about Butch Queen Face, and just like something that was very hurtful to me, because I appreciate my features being black, but I remember a lot of boys back in the day getting chopped for having like ethnic nose. I don't know if you remember that. And that was a big discussion for a while. The state of evolution now that we're accepting that and loving and embracing that with boys of color, because that's the foundation of Ballroom. And loving that. I just think that it's very important to keep that type of highlight in the conversation, that Ballroom is always going to be ever evolving. But the foundations of that, the guidelines, is always going to be important. We need that. And that's what we're going for, because now people are looking at YouTube and they feel like they're just as a part of Ballroom, because it's no longer underground.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, correction, it was started by black women.
Huh?
The foundation is black women.
I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So,
can we answer his question about what a Ballroom Alliance is?
in just 1 second, and I know you want to get to that.
No, not me, but
no, but that'll come out in the solutions, because then we can tell them exactly what that is, and then we can get some solutions.
So I'm gonna keep it a stack with you. I feel like what has been perspiring is also a part of the issue, because we keep talking about the youth, but yet I'm the first one in the room who's been involved in less than a decade to speak on something. So this is my perspective being literally not even 3 years into Ballroom, right? So before I came into Ballroom, I've traveled to 17 different countries teaching and working with kids through the arts, being an ambassador for the arts and being an ambassador for mental health. It's very disheartening to come into a space as a queer man of color to be put into this box that is just so small. And no disrespect to any icons in the room, but to hear an icon say something like, do you even know what 401k is? Do you even know how to read? Do you even know this? Do you even know that? When the times are different. That may have been a question that was around back then, but now people my age are very educated. They are the ones out here leading things that are going on in the world. So to come into a space where I was so excited, I grew up seeing Ballroom and being excited about being in a space where it's okay to be openly gay and openly queer, but to be put into this box. Me being in Ballroom, I can tell you from being in a lot of different spaces that are predominantly run by white people. Ballroom does not have any real structure, in my opinion, so I find myself confused a fucking lot. And let me say this, I don't understand what just happened was I won 3 balls that was on the list for the year. But my name was not on the list. But there are other twisters who I know for a fact only won 1 ball on that list, but their name was up there. Now, why is that if of the years are supposed to be based off of this long-ass list of balls that's posted? If you won X amount of balls on this list, you're supposed to be nominated, but I'm not. That is just an example of a lot of the confusion as a youth, as a young person in Ballroom that I run into, because it's like, it's a lot of this, but then it's a lot of this, but then it's a lot of, well, it's based off of this situation, well, it's based off of that, well, it depends in this situation. It's just so damn confusing, and it's like, I'm tired of going to this icon, that icon, this legend, that legend, and I'm hearing so many different things because nobody is in agreement. And it's like he said earlier, everything starts at the top. And if everything at the top is a mess, everything at the bottom is gonna be a mess. So that is why I feel like a lot of the older generation feels like their toes are being stepped on. Because it's like we live in a generation where we are the ones who are out here running on foot trying to get shit done. Because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna hold you. Icon, star, statement, virgin, I'm an adult. So like everybody's been saying about the respect thing, it's like I'm gonna always be respectful, but I'm still an adult. So don't ever feel like you can just come at me crazy or talk to me crazy or do anything and I'm just gonna sit there and take it. No, absolutely. Absolutely not. And I don't think anybody should, but I feel like that is why the old generation's toes still step on, because it's like we're trying to be great. I know, let me speak for me personally. I want to be great. I want to be the greatest at anything I've ever done, because everything that I've ever done, I've been the greatest at. That's how I've been able to go where I've gone in this world. But I don't feel like I can be the greatest in Ballroom because I'm always so damn confused. And it's like, I want to go somewhere. I want to be great. I want to do this. I want to get my up the years. I bust my ass. I'm winning these balls. I'm spending all this money. But then I win 3 balls on the list and I should be nominated, but I'm not.
Wait, let me respond to that. No, I want to.
Wait.
Let me respond to that because I don't like that in the air that you were on the list. I understand that. What we do with these balls is a lot of work. And if a person is disgruntled because they didn't make the final list, I'm sorry for that. We're not here to coddle people. We're not here to pat you on the back and give everyone, because I'm not sure that's what you're asking for. Because I don't know your name and I'll go back to see what happened. Hold on. I'll go back to see to understand why you weren't on the list, but at least explain the process.
Jack, please, Jack. 1 second, please. Can I clarify? And I do apologize. I'm Marcus. I got y'all. Primo, I apologize. I want to make it very clear why you weren't on the list. At the end of the day, Ballroom is not organized. The promoters did not put the right name correct. That's the problem. That's the truth. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The balls you walked, they put your name as the wrong name. So Jomio Ricci got credit for one of your balls, and the other 2 balls that you walked, the promoters refused to turn in your name.
They didn't put no name.
They didn't put no name at all. And I can give you those lists. Can you name the balls that you won? Let's put it out in the air. Because I don't want anybody to think that you were cheated or somebody else was cheated. Jack and I did not cheat anybody. We went based on the information that was submitted. Correct. So what we did was we created a Facebook group for promoters and alliance leaders. So after every ball, we can put the wins in the group and verify it. Just like it's done in the Southeast, just like it's done in the West Coast, just like it's done in the Gulf Coast.
Mhm.
But the problem is, New York, New Jersey,
Did not.
and Philadelphia do not turn in their winners, and that's the problem. So can we all agree to that?
That is true. I'm telling you.
But that's what happened.
I also want to make it abundantly clear that was the easiest
So
and
Jack is
most
gonna
recent
explain the process.
example for me to use as to a lot of the confusion, because I am in a lot of conversations with people in my generation, and the general consensus is confusion. Like, it's so much confusion. We go to these balls, we go to these meetings, we go to these functions, and we are confused about a lot of things because there's so much back and forth, and there's so much, this is the way this is supposed to be, well back in my day, and all of this, that, and the other, and so many different regions, and it's just so much confusion. But I just want y'all to know, I'm not that pressed about that.
No, can we? I want you to be But you should be. You should
Take it a step back though, because I don't want it to just be about that. I think the larger point is there's a heavy sense of confusion. So how do we move past that and putting systems in place that will address those confusions?
So now.
But can we?
Wait.
A big system and a big Facebook where you send all the information.
Okay. That's one solution, but I want multiple solutions.
Okay, can we start with confused? Wait a minute. I don't want to yell, please. I don't want to yell. I was just yelling all day Friday. I don't want to yell. I'm tired.
Guys, let's be respectful.
Please.
I have a solution.
Gordy, please let this go.
My thing is this, right? I hear people talking about solutions and I hear people bringing up questions. My thing is, who's going to do the work? That's why we're still doing it. We're still doing this because all we do is keep talking.
But who is doing the work? Who are the people that's actually going to do the work? It doesn't matter whether it's icons. It doesn't matter because you could say what you've seen. You could say you've seen it for 50 to 60 years. What did you do? What did you do to change it? Who's getting in the field? Who are those people? We can sit here all day and say, you know what, we know this is fucked up because this happened. But are you gonna walk up on that stage when it's time to say, yo, this fucked up? Which one of y'all is doing that? That's the problem. Exactly.
But he can't do it alone.
But that's the whole thing.
And they make you a
We
monster.
need a team of people who's going to do the work. We hear it. These are good conversational pieces, but when do they ever move out of these spaces? We've been in these spaces with Destination Tomorrow, House Lives Matter. I mean, we have conferences all over the fucking country spending up all this fucking money. But where is the fucking work?
Right.
Where is the work? Where is the fucking anything? I'm not seeing anything. I've been in this thing since 2004. Same conversations being had. Same shit keep happening. Same people that's actually trying to do something, like, who said it? Like you said, are the people that's being called problematic. You are a problem when you address the situation. Outside, really in the field. We can have the talk shit all day in here and put it in disguise of it's the people, it's the judges. No, it's individuals. And we have to address that. Like, I'm ready to do work. Real shit.
So we got Courtney, and then we're going to shift, and Sean, and then we're going to shift into solutions. Please.
So,
you got a solution, there you go.
So earlier, when John said IBM wouldn't hire kids or young ones to do the job. Young ones can do this job. Exactly. Young ones can keep track of what's going on. If you're a point, the ones because when you're older, you don't give a fuck who gets out of here. You don't give a fuck who won. Because the only thing that people worry about is like, I'm having the ball, you're running the ball, so that's your man's responsibility. Your man's responsibility isn't about who won the 8 balls from before, but young people would know. You get a group of young people, you put together a young council that can do the job. It can be done. Because, like I always say, the thing is, at this age, I'm gonna ask Hollywood. I have so much other shit going on. But when you're 21 years old, you got time to go to everything. We always 21 with time to go to ball. It's as simple as that. It's people that's willing to do the job. We don't have to gatekeep everything. Let those people get together, all young people, to get the job done. I'm pretty sure these kids know what's every ball. They were there. And the ones that you spend home to get surgery if you're a femme queen, or if you're a butch queen, you stay home just that. Like I said, you don't know what went on. Everybody else do. Those people that have the most, so that's one of the solutions that we can do.
Sean?
You-
I really want to spend the next 25 minutes talking about solutions. Because to Lawrence's point, you're right. We always get right here and we get stuck, right? So either one house is not represented when we decide what we're going to do, and then they decide that they're going to go rogue and they're not listening to what we just said we were going to do. All of those. So what is the commitment when we leave here, right? Are you discussing it with folks that were not in the room? Who should we invite to the next one? If I get money for a leaders retreat, who's coming, right? And are we all going to be in agreement that whatever we decide at this retreat is how we're going to move it forward? Like if we're going to do something, let's come up with concrete next steps. Not solutions, but next steps. And then making sure that folks are going to abide by. And we also have to agree to disagree, right? I think the one thing that we all have to remember is, back in my day, I didn't wait to say that. Well, back in my day, we didn't have this kind of connection, right? So it was about, like, we would all go to Tiffany's and everybody would sneak out. It didn't matter what house we was in. We'd all go in and we turn Tiffany's, or we turn whoever we was going to turn, right? Now it's so not in a bad way. Who's recording? I didn't mean it in a bad way. But now it's so divided. It's like if you're an Aga, you don't speak to the these are examples. And if you're a West, you don't fuck with this house. Like, that shit gotta end because it's bigger than just your house. It's a community effort. And the one thing that I'm watching from the outside looking in is a whole bunch of other people that are putting balls together, that are acting like they know the community.
Don't know
that are
shit.
Like they're plugged into the community, that are gonna take the community in a whole other direction, because what they'll see with us is, well, we do a slam our backs, we're not about purpose, we don't have true leadership. So in a moment, this underground shit that we know and recognize will be underground again, while companies like Pepsi and all these other spaces are creating their own version of our scene and leaving us behind. So if we can't get past, if we can't get past, oh, but my house, I want my house to win of the year. Oh wait, it's the house with the most trophies. I gotta turn everybody else so my house can be the house with the most trophies. We look stupid. And if we can't get past that and understand the bigger picture, we might as well, I hope y'all enjoyed the food. I won't do this again next year. Fuck it, because we ain't going nowhere. So we all have to make a commitment to say, even if we disagree, even once it gets tough, these are the decisions that we're going to make as a unit and follow through with it.
Thank you. One last person to speak, and then I just want to start taking solutions.
Hi, my name is Marcus Asia. Please forgive my voice. Wow. I just want to add another layer to this whole conversation. Talk about the young, the old, blah, blah, blah. I did not grow up in Ballroom, so I don't have that youth history. I knew people in Ballroom, and then when I came into Ballroom, I saw a bunch of people that I already knew on the outside of the Black gay community that are in Ballroom. And when I came, it was more like, okay, I was turned off from Ballroom because the femininity part, I didn't really get with that. But then when I found out there were other people here, I got with that, and I said, okay, I can do this. But when I got here, I felt like the environment was so fucking hostile. I just can't do that. It's like coming out all over again to my community. I'd rather deal with the straight people, because this shit is crazy. We talking about doing the work. I took notes because the energy went high real quick. Now, the one thing I don't see a lot of in Ballroom is forgiveness. I see a lot of fights, I see a lot of this and a lot of that, but forgiveness is one thing I don't see a lot of. The other thing I don't see a lot of is professional courtesy. Like, when you can't go somewhere, you don't make it, you call the people. There needs to be consistency. Talking about doing the work, show up to do the work. You don't know how to do the work, say you know how to do it, get somebody else that know how to do it. Empathy, that's another thing I find missing. People will walk by you and act like they wouldn't piss on you if you was on fire. And it's like, this is where I want to come? Like, I stay on the fence. Because I'm like, why the fuck, I'm old now, why the fuck do I need to be here? But guess what? I want to be here because it's a space that's supposed to be for me. It doesn't matter how old I am. I came in with a skill set. I came in with some education and some stuff. So I want to lend my professional skills to the situation. I feel like where it has to start is on the house level, and it does have to do with mental health. It does have to do with addressing a lot of the traumas. And I hope that we can get it together, but I just wanted to add another layer that not everybody here that comes into Ballroom is young and dumb and impressionable. People that come in with skill sets and education and assets, 401k, all that. But they get turned off by the confusion this young man was talking about. I feel that same way. I see the same shit. I have no problem whipping out a spreadsheet, whipping out a motherfucking the Word doc, PDF, any of that bullshit. But it's coming, I don't know what the goal is because it's very, very confusing. So I just want to add another layer to it. It's not just for the youth, it's for all of us. And we got to figure out what's going to work. Now, I will say in terms of solution, right? It does start like this. It does start with conversation. They mentioned Martin Luther King, right? They didn't just talk about that in a year. Civil rights took fucking decades. Right, it took decades. And so now it's going to take some time for us to get out of this trick bag. Workshops. I talked about professional courtesy, teaching the young. In my house, I talk about showing up. I talk about being a professional. If you can't make it, don't sign up for shit you know you can't do. And work your way up to it. And I don't just do it, I lead by example. Y'all see my old ass out there. You get what I'm saying? So it's about teaching by being an example. And I just want to say, John, thank you for what you did, because that was an example, even though you didn't have to do it. You said you took accountability for your part. That's the type of shit that I see.
So we're gonna get to solutions. First, I want to take inventory of what houses is here, right? And I also want you to look around the room, right, when I do this, right? Because I'm gonna show you something that sometimes people need that visual piece. Wow.
Well, let's do this.
Right. What else is this? Gucci. What else is this? Croissant. What else is that? Buclea, La Beja, Gucci, Orici, Saint Laurent. Oh, double O. I'm a double O. All right, double O. So I say that because even if you look in the room, we're all sectioned into our own people. Nobody took the liberty to sit with somebody who they don't normally speak to. I did that to show y'all that it starts with us coming together. And everybody said, oh, I'm sitting with other people, right? Some of us just came and grabbed the plate because we was hungry.
No.
We sat at the first seat. So let's just be honest, right? But when we talk about solutions and who's actually going to do the work, I have not heard nobody say, I'm willing to do this. So that's the point that we need to get to, next steps, right? Who is willing to do what and how we're going to get to that point? Solutions.
Solutions for me is for the legends, icons. Like, I feel as if that we have to, of course, spread the love. Don't be selfish with your house members when it comes to leaving. Like, you have to tell people who aren't in your house how to bring these categories. You have to let people who aren't in your house know if you see them going to the floor, well, hey, I don't know, that may not be right. And I do that. I've been doing that. It doesn't matter what house you're in, the star statement, like, I go to different people in different houses, and if I see some shit that ain't really giving it, I'm gonna say something. And I praise them if they are giving it. It's the same with me. Secondly, to piggyback off Thaddeus earlier about competing, like, you need to be a competitor too, to really identify shit, right? Last night as I sat on that panel and watched for the $5,000, there were people who I looked at and I was like, I'm not really pleased. But guess what happens when I start chopping? They'll say things like, I set it up for my kids to win, my kids to win. When he won the record. He won because I
So I just want, solutions would be to definitely don't be selfish within your house when it comes to these kids. Contact different kids, see them, and just make them bring it to the floor in a good way.
Anybody writing this down?
Well, what's the problem?
We already talked about
No. Which issue are we trying to address? Because this is what happens a lot in these spaces. We have a lot of problems, and Ballroom has a number of problems. We need to pick one thing and work towards that one thing as a group, and then we can come together in 3 months or 3-4 months and come get a progress report on that, and maybe add another thing. Because when we trying to address status, violence, mental health, the ball wins, the of the years,
But we
the
need to
issues.
break it.
We need one thing, just as a group, one thing today.
But here's the thing, as large as we are, we can focus on more than one thing.
We can.
What
if you broke it up into task force, different teams?
Committees. You put this shit together and you have committees. This committee is gonna focus on status. This committee is gonna focus on violence. This committee is gonna focus on mental health and wellness. It can happen if we're looking at it through a lens that says we have multiple issues, we have multiple talents, we have folks that there may be folks that are good at writing policies and other folks that are good at planning events. Those folks can plan the events and put together what the promoters could be looking for and how the promoters can be putting and all of those. Each committee can come back to the lobby group and say, this is what we've done as a committee and this is what we like to implement. We can look at this through a multiple-pronged
We have
lens.
to, because everybody's not into the same thing. There's some people that are into politics. There's some people that are into
So
events.
then
There's some
they
people,
would
so like
section
I'm
out.
volunteering to take over mental health. If anybody wants to join, I just talked to Sean. I want to put a program together where we can try to have a group of people that maybe there's group therapy. There's access to psychiatrists. We have to talk about grieving. So I'm putting it out there. If anybody wants my phone number and we can start a committee around mental health and grieving and doing that, I am putting that out there.
And can I just say, I also want to say that in some ways, it has to start from now, right? Because no one wants to continue to hear, oh, we tried this before, oh, we did this, oh, this is not going to work. We got different attitudes, different ideas, different folks at the table. So we need to move away from, this didn't work before. What are significant solutions that we can begin to look at, not looking at what happened before or did not happen before? How do we move forward?
We got one great solution. So those who was adamant about mental health and us dealing with that, please see Jamie so we can try to get a group together. Can we just have one of you and then you? I'm gonna take the solutions. Everybody raise your hand with a solution. And in the last few minutes, if you did not get anything to eat, please don't eat because it closes down in a few minutes and we out of here in a few minutes. So please, if you raise your hand, make it a solution-based response.
I feel like we should take it back to basics a little bit because I feel like we get so deep into shit that we go so haywire. I know one thing that we learn as kids is reading is fundamental, right? So for me, one thing that made it so easy for me going throughout life and understanding rules and how things operate and how things are supposed to go was because there was a tangible, controllable, written down or some sort of something that I could look at, refer to, and know and be held accountable to, so that I knew exactly what was going on and a bitch could not say I didn't know or there was this, that, and the other. For me, a lot of the times I feel like where I get confused is because it's like, okay, this is a rule in ballroom, but I ain't never read that nowhere. And I feel like there's a lot of ballroom history that is lost or not known about because it was never recorded or written down somewhere. So if anybody, I'm even willing to help out, however that may be, getting something tangible, controllable, written down, or something that everybody can look at and be held accountable to and be able to understand what it is that is being expected of everybody in these spaces.
Because there are idle sheets that are out, but you're talking about that's going around. I think Luna has all of them.
Somebody might have it, but we all need it.
Everybody knows how to
We need it. We all need it.
All right, I'm coming around, please. Go ahead.
I think another solution is one for us to all take this back to our houses Also, like addressing the old and the new thing, a solution to that. Yes, there is a lot of older people who may not be ready to like pass the torch, but also as one of the younger fathers in Ballroom, like I don't see a lot of my generation enough either outside of being family or Catholic. Like putting together the marches and being in these meetings and being on the alliance and doing things outside of making a name for yourself. I think a lot of my generation, the generation after, we need to, as the older generation, if you know there's members in your house who are coming up as great leaders, pour into them more and get them more active outside of just eating it on the floor. Because if all of y'all were to go and it just no one left to like give that knowledge back or to step up into leadership outside of eating it as a mother of the year or father of the year, then it's gonna stop there. So I think we need to make sure the next steps is you go home and you think about the people in your house who needs to be in these spaces the next time that may be younger and more influential to the next generation to make sure that it keeps going. And there was something that you said that I wanted to piggyback off of.
Okay. J-Rock?
Well, I just wanted to say I've been trying to do this since I got in the ballroom, but you know, when you're doing something that's positive, everybody shoot it down. I was in the military for 21 fucking years. I was a chief. So that means I know how to do what? Lead. I've been saying I am willing to do leadership workshops because a lot of times these houses put people in these positions of mother and father and they are not ready. It's not saying don't put them there, but put them with somebody that's going to show them how to lead kids. And if you want to check my resume, you better look at the Gulf Coast because every child in the Gulf Coast, Balenciaga, Gorgeous Gucci, Ebony comes from J-Rock. And when they go out to these other places and they compete, they still came from me because why? I'm trying to teach them ballroom, and it's real disgusting when I tell them respect that person, respect that person, respect that person, because that's who they are. Teaching them the history. That is, no, I'm not lying. And then they get there, and then they come back to me, and they've been treated like shit. You see what I'm saying? So
Solution.
my thing is what I'm trying to do as a leader is, if anybody else, we got so many people in ballroom, but this is not the ballroom of old. Right. There's so many people in here, lawyers, doctors, politicians, everything. If y'all want to send y'all, if y'all want to get together, I know everybody that runs every company. If y'all want to get together and have a leadership workshop, and when y'all start to put these new leaders in place, hey, go to this, go to J-Rock and these people or whoever want to lead. I know how to follow too, right? And I know how to be on the bottom and lift other people up. Let's get these people to know how to be a mother, how to be a father, because it's more than winning a trophy. Because that's why my kid's not here today, because one had to start college, the other one had to finish college, the other one got some rent to pay. You ain't coming to no awards ball because I'm not paying your rent. You see what I'm saying? So you need to know how to prioritize some things. You know what I'm saying? And balls come every freaking week. But life can get lost in a split, in a moment of an eye because we're not leading. So I'm volunteering leading. If anybody else want to get on board with that, we can do that.
We have a few minutes left. Please take 1 minute to talk, right? So we have the mental health. We have a leadership retreat and a development, leadership development. Y'all jotting that down? How we get to that is just how we get to that, but this is in the air, right? And you're willing to do that, right? You're willing to step up. Go ahead, 1 minute, just 1 minute.
I also want to say a lot of this, like I know we're speaking about New York and a lot of us are here. We do have the New York and New Jersey Alliance. When we speak about who's gonna do the work, we are doing the work. Literally. We putting together these community events, making sure we have rules and regulations, because if we can't control all the ballroom, we can control our own city. So again, make sure that if your house is not on the alliance, that you have representation, because you don't want us making decisions for the whole New York and New Jersey and your house is not included. And several times we reach out to these houses to try to get everybody involved, and these houses are falling to the wayside. Or they'll show up to one meeting and we have them every month and we don't see you again for 6 months. Your house is then not helping us. So when it comes to doing the work, the Alliance is doing the work, and we're gonna take all these, we have our meeting Tuesday, and see, I already wrote down like a national ballroom voting day. Whenever we need to start voting for these electives, we need to do it as a community, whether we get shirts and represent and show up to these polls as ballroom to vote for these people that's gonna help us. But yeah, just make sure y'all in the Alliance, please.
Thank you. We got right here,
They're just saying they didn't know about the New Jersey, New York Alliance.
Who here sits on the? Wait, I do. First of all, I'm the coach here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Every house.
So this is not a defense of it, they're asking the questions, can
Who
we?
here is on the Northeast, what's that called, Alliance, or at least New York, New Jersey?
It's in New York, New Jersey. I don't know.
That's why I like to see the same way that I know that I saw on other boards. So I like to see, just so that, physically. Like,
All of y'all in there?
The ones that should go up.
Okay, thank you, so now you got a solution?
Yeah, floor. Again, if you don't know, my name is Romeo Gorgeous Gucci. Okay, so I want to address a couple of things. One, I don't remember his name. Solution chapter. What's your name again?
Primo.
Primo. Okay, you were in Orici, right?
Yeah.
You're 007 now?
Yeah.
Prior to the awards ball, they said there was a misinterpretation with your name. That was your house's job to send your name in when they were collecting the
It
awards
was the
ball.
promoter's job.
I'm asking a question.
No, that's not
It's the
how we do it.
promoter's.
That's not.
All right, so can we get that clarity at the
Every
end?
year that I've
We
heard
just
of it.
need some solution.
I'm trying to get a solution and I'm being interrupted.
Oh my God.
Thanks. If that wasn't done like that this year prior to that,
That's why it'd be a lot easier if we were able to explain, and I really do apologize for coming off defensive. Jack, I, Season, Andre, we worked a lot of months on this, and it is very disappointing. We stayed up hours and hours and hours dealing with this. It is very offensive. So again, at this point, I want to protect myself because I've spent thousands of dollars to make this happen. So at the end of the day, sorry, but this is what we're going to make sure everybody leaves out here understanding how the Ballroom Awards is done. Period. That's going to be the solution today. In regards to the years, in the previous years, your house filled out a ballot and nominated one person in your house and one person in another house. In your house, your house had to submit all your wins. That was an antiquated way of doing it, and the houses they were lying, they were cheating. So what we did was we compiled a list of balls. Jack and I decided these are the balls that you're going to do, and we found the winners. The West Coast turned in all their wins. The Gulf Coast turned in all their wins. The Midwest turned in some. Detroit turned in all their wins. The South had all their wins. Pennsylvania, Paris, Canada, we got their wins. We had issues with Caesar, Alvernian, Jason Montclair, Fashion Rocks, the latex. That's just the truth, and that's the truth. So the New York, New Jersey Alliance. I'm going to make it very clear. Mikey Alpha Omega and Jada Machiavelli are the people that keep y'all records, right? I've reached out for them since April 22nd. I got one ball from them. That's a problem. Y'all probably lost some of the years because the wins were not turned in. Deal with that in y'all alliance.
Thank you.
There we go. So that's the first thing. I'm not done. So then what happened was every ball that was submitted was put on a master tally sheet. It had your name, it had how many balls you won, and it put the state that it was in. The houses got a ballot. Each house got to vote. The top 6 nominees, or who got the votes, were the nominees. So if your list was wrong, that's probably how your name got left off. The person who won 3 balls, if you actually had 3, you probably got votes from people, and you would have been a nominee. But if your wins were never verified, which is, we need to organize as a community and figure out how these states are going to submit their wins if this means something to you. Can we do that? Can we get a solution for that?
So that's the solution. But I don't want us to get caught there. If that's going to be the solution, then we'll put a pin in it. Next steps will be how are we doing calculations of the year? If that's important to somebody, and we create a committee on it. But I don't want us to get stuck there because it's bigger than what of the year is for me.
Totally, but if that's where the community is stuck, we need to address that so we have their. They're stuck there. No, not me. A lot of individuals here, everybody has a motive. A lot of people came here to address certain things,
and we're talking around the issue. Let's address the actual issue. This young man, not just him, but a lot of people have problems with the other year. That's understood.
To address my issue, and it still has not been addressed.
The individual, the person touching you.
Yes.
Right? I do, and that's something that has to be dealt with.
If the lights come on, that means that it's almost getting towards that time.
Right.
No, we're over
Has everybody signed? Everybody please sign the sheet and your name and your house.
Hold on, I got one quick thing. We have people that said they were willing to do the work, but can somebody just say like their Instagram or something so people can get in contact with them?
That's what we're saying.
Like J-Rock. Anybody want to? J-Rock, what's your Instagram? What's your?
J-Rock Dupree.
Yeah, because I don't never take my pictures. I gotta start. I had to do
Make sure you subscribe to the top. This will be left up.